Hello everyone. It's once again that season of the year. No, it's not Christmas, it's Lent season. What is Lent? Why do we observe 50 days of Lent? Well, simply put, Lent is a spiritual practice or a faith tradition that has been passed from generation to generation since the early church. And why do we observe 50 days? It's a combination of 40 and 10. The number 40 has relevance all throughout the Bible. But in the context of Lent, it is the 40 days of fasting of Jesus and the 10 days of his suffering. Lent today has become into more of praying, reading Bible, and having 50 days of Lenten observances. In that light, Isaiah chapter 58 resounds a prophetic voice of what Lent should be always. We have made Lent only to be fasting and praying and having Lenten observances. But Lent is way beyond that. And Isaiah chapter 58 is a stark reminder to all our Lent practices. For perhaps those are not true Lent or true fasting. If we are reading the Bible more during this 50 days of Lent, and if we are not reading the people around us or the situation around us, it is not true Lent. The prophet Isaiah reminds us that why have we humbled ourselves and the Lord has not noticed? Why have we fasted and the Lord has not seen? And the prophet reminds us perhaps we are still doing what pleases us. And that's what the book of Isaiah reminds us, how to fast according to the standards of God. Why does our fasting end with strife and quarrel? During this time of Lent or fasting, if we have strife or quarrel with anybody, we have to go before God and we have to reconcile with God. But also we have to reconcile with those whom we have quarrel against. If we are exploiting our workplaces, which God has given us to be His faithful witness, it's not a true Lent. Do we, during these 50 days of Lent, involve ourselves in more of fasting, more of praying, and more of Lenten observances, which in Isaiah's word is like bowing down with a broken reed, or it's perhaps like lying in sackcloth and ashes. Lent is not an external demonstration of our spiritual life. For many a time, that's what Lent has come down to be. It is a demonstration of our spiritual practices. But what Isaiah reminds us that it should be an external intervention, setting the oppressed free. During these 50 days of Lent, we should have eyes to see who are the oppressed around us. They could be within our family. They could be in our surrounding. Lent involves intervention in places where there are injustice. We think that it is not our duty to set the oppressed free or to do justice. No, God calls us to fast and pray for places where there are injustice happening, but also God calls us so that we will bring justice, His justice. During these 50 days of Lent, if we are giving up one meal, Isaiah chapter 58 reminds us that we should make an effort to provide 50 meals. That is intervention, not just fasting and experiencing God in our spirits, but also giving out God to others. If during this Lent season we are involved in going to the presence of God and being clothed with righteousness, it involves us to go out and to find those who do not have clothing and give them clothes. It is an external intervention in the power of the Spirit. If during this Lent season, if we are going in the presence of God and finding shelter to our problems and finding refuge amidst our difficulties, it also involves going out and intervening in the life of people who do not have shelter and giving them some form of shelter, some form of comfort. Fasting is a time where we bring our eyes, our ears, our heart to God, so that God will use our eyes, our ears, our heart to grow His kingdom. So this season of Lent, may I invite all of you to fast, not according to what we see around us, but according to how God warns of us. Let us fast for the glory of God. Thank you, and God bless us all.